Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves an EP from an act named Kaden titled Castle Falls. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves the EP on the screen. We're going to be listening through all 4 of these tracks today. We're going to listen through it from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. Castle Falls. It's nice to have the guitars come in here with the auto-tune, a bit more colour to it.
I can feel you when you're close to me, I swear. I stay awake at night, dream about the times we had away. You're my angel in the sky, thinking you might save my life. Is this the end? Am I alright, or is this all by design?
I mean, like, I am two minds about the auto-tune. I understand that for a lot of people it sounds great. It sounds great to have that, and it's a cool stylistic thing. I'm not sure it necessarily benefits the song here. I'm wondering if, as a compromise, we could potentially have some bits where there isn't auto-tune just to check how the clean vocals sound, because it sounds like we have got some decent pipes and it'd just be nice to have both, you know? But yeah, we'll continue. That's my only complaint at this point. Everything else sounds really great.
You're my angel in the sky, thinking you might save my life.
I'm liking the side chaining as well on the kicks. So nice and punchy.
I can feel you when you're close to me, I swear. I stay awake at night, dreaming about the times we had away. You're my angel in the sky, thinking you might save my life. Is this the end? Am I alright, or is this all by design?
So another thing I want to point out, and this is going to potentially sound like I'm being critical just for the sake of it, and I'm not, I swear. It's like where these words are coming through at a phrasing I like. I like the words and I like the story that's being told. It's compelling. Are we on the beat for these parts? Are we in sync with the rhythm elements? I understand that if you're too close to what the drums are doing, it sounds a bit robotic, but do we feel that it's good to have more of a fluid, like we're not in unison with some of the rhythm elements here. I'm just wondering if it would be better if it was just a bit closer to the actual groove of the kit to add emphasis to those notes. It's totally up to the people watching this. It's a subjective thing. I love the sparkles and the guitars. It's all by design. I mean, the vocals sound great. I like the motif, the harmonic is good.
Castle falls, all these castle halls. I just walk away when we're at the ball. Take my heart, babe, and dance with me, my princess, to my destiny, my princess. Your heartaches, I'll take it all away. I'll take it all away, my princess. Your heartaches, I'll take it all away. I'll take it all away. I die 1,000 times just to see you again. I walk 1,000 miles just to see you smile. Don't.
I like the fact that we're taking the drums away for this bit and we're just allowing things to simmer and float. We understand, I think, that there needs to be breaks.
Don't stop, you can't stop breathing.
It's mentioning overdubs as well.
Don't cry, I can't stop bleeding. Far away in a distant land, I made foreign plans, far away in a distant land.
No, I think it's a really compelling motif you got there going on the guitar, and it looks really nicely, and the bass and drums are well sorted. And aside from the comment about the auto-tune, it's not that I don't like auto-tune. It sounds cool. It's just maybe it's even more fashionable at the moment than it used to be. I hear a lot of people using auto-tune now, and like maybe it's just because I'm old. Because when I was growing up, a lot of people were like, "Oh, don't use auto-tune." Anything apart from like hip hop and rap, auto-tune was just not okay. But I think that maybe another way to look at it is that if we can sing, it's okay. And also maybe to be fair, it would maybe be a little bit dry if we were like, if we didn't have it. Maybe it'd be a little bit dry sounding. There's some nice reverb tails on the vocals though. And I think the story that we're telling about, is my understanding of the story with this track is it's about someone who, you've taken the princess away from the castle falls and you've taken the princess away, is that it? Like they were locked up in a castle and you managed to take them away and you having a happily ever after with them, like they're their destiny. But we're going to continue through this album, of course. I just want to give a shout out, even though I've said a few things I don't like, it doesn't mean that I don't like the majority of it. I'm wondering if we're going to stay with this sort of theme throughout the EP or if we're going to change things up. But regardless, we have Broken, track number 2. I'll give more detailed feedback in the conclusion. Really fascinating building here with the guitars.
I'm so broken, I feel so empty. She feels chosen when she's not next to me. One mind open to the thought of you and me. I'm so broken, and you're so lonely.
I'm so broken and you're so lonely. It sounds like a terrible situation, to be honest. I'm not trying to be funny about it.
I feel the depths you can't seem to see. You're so close off when you try to talk to me. I can't fucking breathe when I hear all the things that you said. Getting chased from the dark seat when I'm in my bed. You better hold on tight, this might be the last time.
Fascinating sound design with the sides.
The last time you'll hear from me. I've been moving on. I've been moving on. You made me do this. I won't forget you. I'm so broken.
And again, the use of having space here. It's okay if we repeat lyrics and if we're focusing on a topic and we want to sort of like emphasize certain elements. But if we do what we're doing here, where we allow just for there to be the floaty kind of mid-range upper synth pads and stuff like that, with the iteration, it's fine.
Feel so empty. She feels chosen when she's not next to me. One mind open to the thought of you and me. I'm so broken, and you're so lonely. I'm moving so
I love the 808s though.
She came around, and I know you well. I know you well. When you come around, just remember you said you were so proud of me, so proud when you lay your head on me, your head on me. My tears fall down, and my tears fall down. Your tears fall down your face. I hold you close to me. I tell you it will be okay. Your tears fall down your face. I hold you close to me. I tell you it will be okay.
Interesting. I liked a fair amount of this. The vocal style that we have is consistent now throughout the EP, so it's okay. It's okay if we have that as the way it is. I'm recognizing the tone now, and I'm glad that we're doing it like that. If we'd tried another type of auto tune, I wouldn't have necessarily gotten to it. But if that's our voice, the way we're wanting to talk to the listener, that's dope. That's cool. So we've got that sorted. The width in one of the sections of the vocals on the side as well. Hey, just surrounded and floating around without, as well as some also kind of like airy, wispy sounds that we had there, almost like a big kind of echo chamber. Another thing just to really appreciate is just the 808s are phenomenal in this. I love the portamento of them. I love how they thump and they slap and they have a place and a home within this. It's some of the best 808s I've heard, man. Like legit. They're ferocious. And they seemingly appropriate for what we're trying to do here. So I'm thankful for that. The story kind of speaks of like one person being broken, another person being lonely, and getting together and maybe trying to sort of fix each other, like letting each other know that they're going to be okay. It reminds me of a lot of the music that I listened to back in the mid 2000s, and like with the emo movement and stuff like that. And I don't mean that as a detriment. I was really into that stuff. But I kind of think it's cool that we're talking about this, because a lot of music these days is also about because it's still about how kind of tough and whatever you are. And it's nice to have a bit of vulnerability in music. It's part of being human, right? And I like, finally, before we move on, that we're trying to balance the more bassier, heavier elements with the really bright, pretty synth parts, and the guitars with the strumming just continues throughout. It seems like trap with guitars and synths is a thing now that I've been hearing quite a bit of, and it's a fun combination, and we'll see how things continue. But anyways, got Angel Wings, track number 3. Just about to start now. Great sound of rainfally.
She left me, now my heart so cold. No remorse, my heart she sold. Broken table, I'll never fall. Hospital bed, my lungs are storm.
What I like about the intro to this is the rain sets the mood. Things aren't necessarily okay. You know it's going to be a bit of a bad time. And then just the guitar, the effects on that, a lot, I mean, like early 90s grunge, it's ominous, but it's not too over the top at the same time.
Can't take a trip in my foreign whip, I'm just getting lit. All it took to dip was a fearless sense. Out here in a chest, taking all your hits. You shot me in the gut, falling from the sky. I don't wanna calm down. I'll try to find my way, calling from the sky. I don't wanna calm down. Sometimes I break your heart, but I know I'll make it right. I know I'll make it right, yeah. Sometimes I break my bones, but I know I'll make it back. I know I'll make it back, yeah.
Nice natural build there. Good use of automation. Nice use of dynamic range there as well. I'm a little bit more unsure about what this one's about specifically, although I could also be unsure about the previous ones and have gotten them misinterpreted. So my understanding with this track, he's talking about his angel wings getting shot down. Is it to infer that we're trying to sort of ascend, that we are having a rough time, maybe not getting sort of taken down by other people, and that we simply just want to provide the nicest things for the other person that we're talking about? Is that the kind of inference we're going here? Like angel wings, diamond rings, all the finest things, etc. I'm hoping that I'm not too far off with that. And he's fighting alone, so basically at this point he's kind of got to defend for himself in this part of the situation after the castle falls and they find themselves together broken and lonely. Or rather, they're separate, broken and lonely. But you know what I mean. I like the call and response between like the higher backing vocals with as a sub layer with the mains, the guitar arpeggios that we have with these we got 16ths, really slow 16th arpeggios with these guitars, and they're kind of menacing if I'm honest. It represents a sense of tension there, that the situation when is dark and brooding and uncomfortable, and we're not quite sure what's going to happen next. The basses and drums were well controlled. There was nice sound design, as I mentioned, with the rain at the beginning, and there was nice bits of automation, like when we went into the halfway point there, where we just kind of allowed things to sort of fluctuate at their own sort of speed, and it was sick. I think Angel Wings, I don't know whether I like Angel Wings or Castle Falls more at this point in time, but either way, we're going to listen to Stay Away, track number 4, final track off of the CP. Bit of fizz, a bit of fuzz. Nice double tracking of the guitars. See, situations like there where I'm not sure if that breathiness could have been served better by just a little bit less auto-tune. And I know it's something I seem like I'm nagging on, but just because the fluctuation of the vibrato was a little bit unusual. And just allowing the filtering to go down and then up like that is a fascinating way to add a bit of contrast and difference to an existing motif. It was nice to have the vocals and the kit stay the same though.
Stay away, girl, stay away. I might have to run away from you. Run away from you.
I'm wondering how we're going to finish it though.
I'm not under your spell. I don't kiss and tell. Why can't you say you love me? Say you love me because because you hate me, because you hate me. I know it's fairy tales. I saw me fall. I know it's fairy tales. I saw, don't call. I'm falling for you, babe.
The 16th triplet kicks are kind of dope with how they put a patter along. Wonder what we're filtering the vocals at, like how high. Alright, this last track, just before we get into the conclusion. What do I think that Stay Away is about? Well, I think it's fairly obvious to an extent. It's about, this is how I put the whole entire EP in mind. So I think Stay Away is about someone who has maybe gone through an experience with this person that they might have saved. And they've realized, hey, I don't actually really want to have anything with you anymore. It's not a good situation. You need to run away. Things are not going to go the way you expect. I've seen this as a fairy tale, but the fairy tale's turning into a nightmare. And we need to just end it. We've had a similar kind of tone and approach with the guitars, the synths, the bass, and the drums up until this point. But I think with this one, it kind of sounds more final, such as the end with like things filtering a whoa, like that kind of stories come to an end. It closes itself. And that's clever. That's clever. I think you could have easily done a fade out here, but this is a different way of approaching that, and it's cool. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of the EP from an axe named Kaden titled Castle Falls. We had 4 tracks today titled Castle Falls, Broken, Angel Wings, and Stay Away. Now, what did I think of each of these tracks? Well, I spoke about them at the end of them respectively, but the overall album speaks to me of someone who has found another. They were a princess in a castle, and they got together and they danced together as the castle fell around them. Broken, they realized maybe that the result of that is they realized how kind of broken and lonely they were, and they were coming together to try and maybe fix things or have a better life together. And Angel Wings is when we kind of realized that, hey, maybe this is not necessarily the best situation. We're kind of trying to get away from that. And then I Stay Away is where we just realize, oh no, I've been shot down. I've been fighting this alone. I just don't think that this is worth us getting further into each other. I need you to kind of get out of the situation and we need to end it. That's my interpretation of the EP. Let me know if I'm too far off or if I completely missed the point. But I think with this track, or this EP should I say, the story makes sense. It's compelling, and I really appreciate that we're going from start to finish with it. And we've just got a set theme that we're kind of developing on and sticking with if I haven't misinterpreted it. You don't always get that with EPs, so they can kind of be a bit of a mess, but we didn't have that issue with this one, so good job. The vocals here, I know I mentioned that I wasn't a massive fan of the autotune at first, not because I have an issue with autotune, but just simply because it depends on it depends on how appropriate I think it is for the style of music that we're doing. As I got used to the kind of stuff we were making, I do remember I've listened to a lot of the stuff through reviews, and it's definitely like a style, having like the autotune with the guitars, with the 808s, with the trap drums and stuff like that. It's definitely a style, and I think that it's become more popular over the last half decade or so. I'm glad we have it, because it's great that we're putting things together that didn't necessarily go typically together when I was a teenager or even in my early 20s. It's nice to have that development there, and I like that people are finding new things and finding their own sounds. So don't get me wrong, I think it's cool. It's just, I was just not sure if it was going to work initially, but when we had the continuity of the track, the way we sung, and that I liked the way that we sung the verses and the hook lines. We had some interesting melodies there. I think that we had a almost legato-ish approach to a lot of it. We didn't necessarily want to sort of really commit to hard consonants or anything like that. We weren't trying to speak like this. We weren't trying to really kind of pronounce things super duper clearly. There was a bit of a kind of carry on between words, but it was fine. It's fine. I've heard the style before. It's all good. I get it, and it does work well. Half of that is to do with the autotune or metatune we're using as well, so it's okay. I think that they were filtered nicely, had a great presence in the mix, and it sounded like we cared about what we were talking about. I think that we just kind of sounded done the entire time. We're just like done with the situation that we're in, and it makes sense when we talk about the story, so that's cool. They were connected, the vocals and lyrics. The tracks were between, they were well between that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, between 3 and 4, and I think that's great. It's enough time to flesh out a concept and give verses and choruses, iterate the hook line a bit more, give people a little bit of focus on the instrumental backing and stuff like that as well. Maybe have an interlude for a bit of a twist, and you have the intro and outro to kind of give the theme a bit of time in the sun. We had that here. A lot of the focus in this was the vocals, and that's fine. We did have intros where it was just the guitar or just the bass, or that we had some other synth parts or key parts. And of course we had the drums come in when they needed to into pocket, or like to kind of disappear as things floated. There was variety with the arrangement and the accompaniment. And while we typically had the same motif per track, that wasn't detrimental because of the lots of different ways we kind of adapted the song to avoid that being an issue. I like the guitar riffs. I thought that they were very somber and moody and not necessarily dramatic, but low-key, and like they matched the tone of the lyrics, but they just sounded like they were done. We had ominous triads arpeggiated there. We moved well between different chord shapes, and it made sense. It kind of reminded me a lot of the metal I listened to, except like chorus, kind of acoustic, and I think that's a fun idea. The 808s were phenomenal, lovely articulation with the root notes, just really thick and fat and really savage tones to it, and it was a nice contrast to the earthiness we had with the guitar tones. The drums that we had there were fantastic. I liked the clap, trap, kind of hi-hat and kick focus there they were nicely side-chained, and while the side-chaining was aggressive and they were very kind of perky and punchy, I don't think that was necessarily an issue. I think that you can get away with having a bit of oomph with kicks for obvious reasons, but also because of the way things were stacked in the frequency spectrum there, we didn't have any major issues. And with the drums, I liked how the kicks weren't just static and quarters. We had dum-dum-dum-dum. We had like 16th triplets and all sorts of fun ideas with that. The cymbals weren't there all the time. Sometimes they were quarters, sometimes they were like more active, but they never became too much. The drums never tried to be too pushy, and I appreciate they were simply a device for moving things forward, and they allowed the other things to have the space when needed. And the synths that we had there, they were there to fill in the mid to high range. They provided contrast to the darkness that was there with like the kicks, guitars, and bass. And I liked that they were kind of pretty and shimmery, a little bit sort of ethereal sounding occasionally, but ultimately they did elevate things. And they made the track just sound fuller than it otherwise would. And typically they matched the tone of what was being discussed in the vocals through use of like the traditional triads and everything like that. And if they were just notes there, they sparkled in a way that again, contrasted tonally. So they were good. Ultimately, the themes throughout this track, they sounded moody, man. I said moody a lot. They sound like we're going through some stuff, like we're really developing and processing the emotions that we felt there. It's very kind of grim, claustrophobic sounding, but in the way where I think if you're feeling the stuff that we talked about in here, it will make sense. I think a lot of people can relate to the feeling of what described in the vocals. And I think a lot of people will understand why the music with its kind of, it works with minor scales and key signatures. It just sounded like we were going through a really hard time with everything involved there, but we're trying to do it in sort of like a fashionable way, if that makes sense, with a genre that's more popular than ever. And I think that we pulled it off. I think it's great. It might not be necessarily something I listen to and I want to be put into a really charismatic, like upbeat headspace, but it's something I can listen to nonetheless appreciate the journey that Kaden's gone through, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to listen to it. He doesn't sound like he's phoning it in, that's for sure. And then we had the studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering, where things sounded really good. I was really happy, outside of the comments I made in various points earlier, with the way things were leveled and present in the mix. The vocals did have presence, regardless of whether they had less or more of the reverb that fluctuated there. I wasn't sure if there could have been a little bit less auto-tune on certain parts, just to help with the vibratos that we had. But aside from that was good. The bass was nice sidechain to the bass parts. There was a nice balancing of the synth elements in there with like the guitars that were double tracked on the sides. They had interesting chorus effects and stuff on them. It was nice and wide in the stereo field, so the music surrounded you in the headphones or speakers, and it was nicely stacked in the frequency spectrum without any resonant frequencies. There was definitely dynamic range here. Sometimes we had things just go up or down, down or up because of the filtering there. Sometimes we'd have sub layers of like little cymbal hits, something like that as little breaks there. we gave this song life and knew to bring things back, pull things back, or push them forward, or oomph it, or kind of take it away. We had a good sense of when that was applicable, and I'm glad we did, because otherwise it could have just been just too much of the same thing, and that wouldn't have been good. But finally, it was also nice. But finally, it was also nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled well. And I mean, effectively, this is my review of this EP from an act named Kaden, titled Castle Falls, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and Spotify page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.